we have to be careful because fighters get old overnight. And we don't ever see it coming. It just happens. But the way Glover fights, he's eliminated a lot of the waste out of his game to where he doesn't really need to be a young fighter. He can fight with his style where it's a little slower and a little more patient. So I don't believe age will be a factor.
Okay, well, Anthony, one thing that you did mention is along with Teixeira's age does come a lot of experience. And when you look at Prochazka's career, he's on the cusp of becoming the first male fighter since Brock Lesnar in 2008 to win an undisputed world title within their first 3 fights in the UFC. That's pretty amazing. And his way of life outside of the octagon may be the key to making that a reality. Okay, he's got the antenna to catch the ideas, but Dean, is Jiri ready to go 5 rounds with a vet like Glover Teixeira? Yeah,
I think he's going to be ready for anything. I mean, he really is a real-life samurai, and he embodies that martial code, and I think he's going to be prepared for anything. Like, he's following that book, and from Mitsumashi Matsumoto, he's a very serious competitor, and he's going to be ready for this moment.
He's got to stay off the mat. He needs to treat the canvas like it's hot lava. He just cannot fight with Glover Teixeira on the mat. The distance in between those two guys' skill levels is way too vast. He can't make up that kind of range. So he's got to stay off the mat. He's got to not allow Glover to land the big ground and pound. He can't let him slice and dice his guard in the jiu-jitsu game. So he's got to stay off the mat, and he's got to maintain his distance.
Hot lava, I like that.
They see the same things that I see.
I got to tell you, brother, I'm surprised, but I'm proud of you.
Dean, I really thought that you and I were going to have to sit here and just destroy Ian and tell him exactly how wrong he was. I'm also shocked as well. I agree. I think that Glover he's so fundamental, and he's been fighting so smart, and he really slows the game down to his pace. I think that this moment is different for Jiri. I think that Glover's been here a couple times now. He's been in some big moments. I don't see Saturday night going any different.
The main event, I mean, it lived up to the billing when you have Glover Teixeira defending his light heavyweight title, taking on Jiri Prochazka. So we talked about how we had a striker taking on a grappler, and how about it's the striker who wins it by submission?
Yeah, I mean, we can call it a submission. At the end of the day, that's exhaustion. He grabbed onto a neck, squeezed on it, and Glover was ready to be done, I think, at that point, but he was so close to be able to defend his title, just 30 seconds or less away from being able to defend his title.
So Jiri now on a 13-fight winning streak. And for Glover Teixeira, listen, this is his first loss since July of 2018 when he lost to Corey Anderson. So now he suffers his defeat. Let's go right into this fight and go in depth. And let's start with round 1, because I think round 1, when you look at it, it was Teixeira with those single leg takedowns. It seemed like dominated that first round.
As soon as Glover got to a spot, you can tell that that's exactly where he wants to be. His body language changes. You can tell the top pressure is super heavy. It was early. They were dry. And the takedowns were relatively easy for Glover at that point.
So, Anthony, to me, I thought the turning point of this fight, I know a lot of people go, well, what about the 5th round where he submitted him? To me, the turning point of this fight is the 4th round. Because if you're the champion, you're Glover, all of a sudden you've got an opportunity to get him in this arm choke, and Prochazka gets out of it.
And that's Glover's best submission. He gets there all the time. He went straight there with me the first opportunity he got. I fought out of it, but I'm a better jiu-jitsu player than Jiri Prochazka is, and I know how hard it was for me to get out of it. So I thought that Glover had gotten to his best submission. He'd gotten to a spot. He had passed the guard. He was inside control. I think I stood up right here and said, all right, write Glover's check, because that's it. He's out of here. But
Anthony, I'll start with you. Give me your overall assessment of Jiri's performance. What you thought he needed to do going in, and then what you saw tonight.
To be honest, it was rough. It was rough. He made a lot of. I think this whole in the last 3 fights, I think that the real thing that I could point to is decision making. He made a lot of bad decisions. He put himself in a bunch of bad spots, and because Glover is maybe a little bit of an older fighter who doesn't have the ability to stand in front of him like a lot of the other guys in the division can do. It gave him the ability to make those mistakes, but his decision-making has got to be a little bit better. He's got to shore up those holes on the ground, because there's other guys that are his size that are close to as good as Glover is on the ground. Maybe some of them are more damage-based and not so much submission-based. So I don't want to discredit him, because I think he did a fantastic job. He looked great. Like I've talked about a million times, I love watching him fight. Every single one of his fights look exactly like that. we need Jiri Prochazka around, but if he wants to be able to hold that belt for a long time, some of those holes that we've seen tonight that were leading him to losing a decision to Glover Teixeira, he needs to shore those up.
Yeah, and like Anthony, like he's watching this fight and looking at what Glover did, built a blueprint on how to beat Jiri Prochazka because he made a lot of mistakes. He's right. He made a lot of mistakes that you can go, all right, if I was in that position, I could capitalize in a different way. And Glover wasn't able to capitalize off it. So, like, the other light heavyweights in the division are looking and going, all right, when I get him here, I know what I got to do now.
I'm happy you brought that up because I want you to take a look here. As we take a look at the light heavyweight division and we talk about the top guys now there at the top. We know Jiri Prochazka is right there at the top now. Glover obviously will fall down to second. But look who's there at number 5. Ooh, boy, he's sitting there waiting.
Look at him.
He's salivating here.
Cheesing over here.
Hey, look, this is basically the finish of the fight as we're sitting here. Look at my man Anthony. He had to stand up. This is something here. And look, we're thinking, man, Glover.
Yeah, this is it.
Yeah, this is it. He's got him. And there's the finish of the fight, and look at Anthony's face there in disbelief.
Yeah.
You know, let's talk about who's next here for Prochazka. Of course, now he's the new champion. What do you think?
Yeah, well, I don't mean to toot my own horn, but Dana White's already came out and said that Magomed Ankalaev versus me is the #1 contender fight. Winner gets a title shot. Dana's the boss, and that's what I think Ankalaev and I both thought was probably going to happen. Jan and Rakic just fought. Rakic is injured. Jan was probably losing that fight up until that injury. So essentially, they kind of both lost. So that leaves me and Ankalaev. We've both been at the top of the division for a long time. I think that's what's next.
Why are you bragging? He's 100%.